Alright, so we're starting Chapter 3 off. We're going to be heading north to kind of like a little mini dungeon on the way to the ice pyramid called the Falls Basin. I don't really have a whole lot to say in this clip because a lot of it's self-explanatory on the screen. I just don't feel like talking. But here in the basin, you're going to see a miniature block puzzle. This is, again, this game is marketed toward, I guess, a more simpler, intellected group. But this is kind of weird. Notice this weirdness here on this block. It looks like right there it's even. You could jump across the bottom row, right? But pushing this thing around is just... It handles kind of weird because it looks like... Well, I'll come back down to it in a second. First, I just want to see where we're jumping across. There's an entrance up there that leads to the second floor. You see that? This is where we'll be moving the block. But it looks as if... Let me get back down there. Sorry. It looks as if that's in line with the top row as it was. And it was, but here again. See, that looks even right there, right? But you can walk behind it, so it almost feels like it should be there. But that doesn't look right. That looks right. So, I mean, it's just like you have to play around with it because it kind of messes with your eyes a little bit. I guess not so much as a person watching, but when you're playing, you'll want to second guess yourself a couple times just because of the way it feels when you're pushing it. But like I said, it's a really simple block puzzle. You'll just watch me go through this. And so there's really not a whole lot I can say about it. Obviously, I'll use this to jump across. And at first I was like, well, that was stupid. I just jumped across to get another block. But I'd have to fight another monster. Why not just use the first block for whatever I need it for? But the truth of the matter is you need both of these blocks. So. The first one actually goes right here. And see, that kind of looks weird too, because at first I wanted to kind of put it one space back, but that'll actually be 2 spaces away. It's just the angle from this camera angle is a little manipulate. Let's try this again. It manipulates your mind to thinking it should go one way when it really doesn't. So we'll come around and we'll see that we actually need a block here. Or you could go down from below. If you go across there, it's only 2 spaces wide, so you're really only jumping across one, and then you can just like walk over. At first, I didn't think that you could do that, and you'll see that I'm gonna put 2 blocks here, just to show it could be done 2 ways. But I didn't think that one I put right there would have been possible when I was actually doing this. So I was actually kind of surprised. That's the way it'll look if you go from below. I said I wasn't going to talk a whole lot, but I don't know. Guess I like to talk. So I guess you could also put both of them side by side up there and just walk across if you wanted. But here we get the most useless spell in the game for Ben, heal. Because life cures status ailments as well, right? So, you know, why use heal and use a magic point where you can just use life and heal all your hit points at the same time? So we have a mini boss here. There was only like 5 battles in this whole place. This isn't even a dungeon. This clip is only 4.5 minutes into it, you know? And this blows my mind. He's a snow crab. Ice is the first thing that comes to mind, but he's not weak against fire. No one in this entire ice field is weak against fire. Why do I even have a fire spell? Why did it even give it to me? Because obviously I'm going to try to use it on everybody. So let's try Quake. See what happens with Quake. Even less. 1 hit point was taken off the crab. It's like, why do I even have these spells if it's not going to help me when I need it most, a boss battle? So let's try Thunder, see what Thunder does. It does a good bit of damage, 520, but the crab's not weak against it. What is this ice creature weak against if it's not thunder and if it's not fire? The answer to that question, of course, is that the game doesn't base its weaknesses on elements, but on the type of enemy it is. In other words, all crabs will be weak against something. All birds, regardless if it's a firebird or ice bird or whatever, will always be weak against certain things. And that's just how they designed the game. I guess it was a little easier in development. But this guy's as much of a pushover as anybody else so far. You can use explosives, right? Here's how to use a jumbo bomb. Oh my god. Here we go again. First, she's holding back more weapons. What is this running gag about not giving me things that could help me out to begin with? What if I got killed before here? You know, she would have felt bad. Oh, maybe he could have used this, right? But then again, if you'll go back, it said I learned how to use jumbo bombs. She didn't give me any new bombs. She taught me how to use the bombs that I have. How do you learn techniques with bombs? It's kind of self-explanatory that the bomb just blows up and does the damage. How do you increase the damage payload of a bomb? What technique could you possibly do? And why is it called a jumbo bomb? Am I tying a bunch of bombs together or something? Well, no, because I'm only using one bomb at a time. So, I mean, that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I guess I can't complain too much because it does do more damage, although I don't know the physics behind that. But anyways, we're taking out this battleground, as you can see. These little Lamias using that sleep status effect. You saw it the last battle before this while I was still ranting. Both of my guys were asleep, and that's just another example of how just having two people at any given time in this game is a real hassle with those status effects, because they could just tear into you while you're asleep. I just happened to wake up. So we get some experience for winning this one. Heading back to Aquaria to heal myself. I just cut forward here to save a little bit of time. I'm down to 43 arrows with Phoebe. I could probably get by with that, but I'm going to go back to the Libra Temple and just get some more. So I'm up to 63, you see. And I've actually got a little bit of time before I hit the 10-minute mark for my YouTube video, so we'll go ahead and start the Ice Pyramid in this clip. So we get this small little room, first of all, but if we step on this square over here, Phoebe says, I can see a switch but can't reach it. Well, gee, Phoebe, I'm sure you've got something that you're hiding from me that you could poke it with. But legitimately, we have something, and yes, it's the sword. Surprisingly, the one weapon that we have that we haven't used in the field just yet. Whoa. See, that's surprising. Every single time I start playing this dungeon, I forget about this every time. The monsters are invisible in this dungeon. It's almost a true random battle, because you cannot see when you actually get into a battle. You're just walking, and all of a sudden you go into a battle. So that's kind of interesting. It actually feels like a real Final Fantasy, with the exception of course, when you come back through this one little space, you won't have to fight again. There really was a monster there. You just didn't see him, didn't expect him. Somewhere in this dungeon we'll get an item to make them all appear. In fact, it was an item that even somebody back in town knew about. Again, showing that the townspeople are more, with it than anyone else that could possibly be in your party. Figure you just bring the townspeople along with you into the dungeon, right? There's another example. Ran into an enemy. You can almost expect them to be where paths bottleneck to one space. And that just makes sense. Programmers like, he has to go through this space, so this is where we'll put the enemy. Here's one more that's guarding this stairway. We got these floating guys. This is our first magician enemy that we'll fight. We'll see a couple of them throughout the game. But we'll get an example here of something they like to do. Not just muffle, but they'll cure themselves also. Maybe not in this clip. It may have been a battle I cut out earlier, but they'll heal themselves. So that's challenging. So we'll stop here and we'll continue with part B.